YouTube, Salivate Metal here, and as of the recording of this video, Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, is higher than gold by a long shot. I think it's $1,700 plus per coin, and gold is much less at $1,200 and some odd dollars. Here's an old infographic that talks about Bitcoin versus gold. And just kind of want to talk a little bit about this because I see some people getting interested, and as is the case with any kind of commodity or thing that goes up, whether it be a stock or what have you, it generates a buzz, and understandably so. And Bitcoin is no different by any means, but we're going to parse it down here with this infographic and talk a little bit about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies versus gold. So let's take a look here at this infographic. I think this kind of explains it. It's a little outdated, but I think it's kind of neat how it puts it together here. Gold is a chemical element, the atomic number 79, that has historically been highly sought after for currency, jewelry, and other uses. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer virtual currency stored in a digital wallet, either in the cloud or on a user's computer. So the first use of gold known to humans throughout most of our history. Many believe the first gold coins date back to 600 BC and were used by the Turks. Lydia, I believe, is the place where they were first began to be used as money. Bitcoin started in January 2009 with the launch of the first open-source Bitcoin client issuance of the first Bitcoins. And to further explain it, we're going to go to another infographic because I think this kind of gives us a little bit of context here on how these things were created with miners, blockchains, and Bitcoins, and how the blockchain system works. The Genesis block is where the first began, and what's created is these blocks that are connected by hashes, and then so there's a mining math. And so at the very beginning, it was relatively easy to create these blockchains, and didn't take a whole lot of processing. So in order to create a new block, miner must find a certain hash that meets specific requirements. So they'll mine for it until they find it, and then it's added. The requirements include the header of the preceding block to be less than or equal to the target number, and include a number called a nonce. And how these things are created or how they're mined, I'm not sure. I've never done it before, but they say it takes a lot of processing power and a lot of electricity. So the number decided on every 2,016 blocks, ideally every 2 weeks, by every client connected to the Bitcoin network. It is lowered or raised in difficulty to make the next hash harder or easier to find. The more miners trying to find the hash, the harder the hash needs to be. This attempts to maintain a constant creation of a block every 10 minutes, regardless of how much computing power miners are tossed at solving the hash. So that means the more people that are involved in it, the harder it is. Very interesting. The nonce, they talk about the miners, or pools of miners, use software to generate millions of hashes per second. And if a miner generates a hash larger than the target number, then they need to increment the nonce and try again. A new nonce will change the resulting hash, but again, the number was still larger than the target. They will try again and again and again. And the chain, since every block contains the hash of the previous block, they link together in a long chain. And then hence we get to the reward. Bitcoins are awarded to the miner's address that finds the hash and creates a new block. Initially, every block solved rewarded the miners 50 Bitcoins. This reward is halved approximately every 4 years. It slowly reduces the amount of coins released into the world over time. The controlled supply and release means that all possible Bitcoins, 21 million, will eventually be mined. And that is where all that will ever be available. So they say. Transactions. As Bitcoins are transferred from one wallet to another, these transactions are digitally signed and stored publicly in the body of the block. So that's a infographic showing the idea of the blockchain. So going back to this infographic, it talks about the mining. Hundreds of tons of gold are mined every year through the means that include placer mining, hard rock mining, byproduct mining, gold ore processing. New bitcoins are generated by a competitive and decentralized process called mining. It resembles actual mining in that Bitcoin miners work to collect bitcoins in exchange. They process transactions and secure the network using specialized hardware. So the scarcity, this is where we talk about scarcity. Gold has about an estimated 171,000 estimated metric tons of gold in the world as of the publishing of this infographic. And there's 12,859,100 bitcoins in circulation as of June 2014. Now, bitcoins, the limit that can ever be mined is 21 million. Now, however, we don't know what the final total is going to be of gold, but it gets harder and harder to get gold each year, obviously. There's only so much that can be mined. There's only so much of it in the ground. So we really don't know what the final output will be. But this number, I've heard it for quite a while. It's a hard and fast number, but it's software, it's computers, it's hardware. I think that this is ridiculous. I think that if they want to create more, they will. Somebody will find a way to get more if there's not already more out there. It's hard to tell. So here we have prices, and again, these are old numbers. We know it's well over $1,700 an ounce now, or $100 a coin for a Bitcoin. But per ounce per year, or per ounce US dollars on adjust to inflation as of 2014 is $12.5550, which is not much more than it is now. And we saw a huge spike in Bitcoin, and it surpassed gold before, and it surpassed gold again now. And here is, this is, I think, part of what caused it to go high here. And these different countries and stuff, that are thinking about accepting it or rejecting it and the like. Well, just recently, Russia and Japan have come on board and are open to accepting Bitcoins as payment. And I think that's what drove the price up. And again, here we're going back to the history of Bitcoin and discussing it. A published paper outlines a peer-to-peer electronic cash system called Bitcoin back in October 2008, resulting without resorting to a centralized bank or treasury. And then you can kind of see through here how it has evolved over time. Now, the problem is that the value of gold is something that is, gold is a asset. It's a commodity. It's money. And has been recognized as such for literally thousands of years. There's no way that it could ever get to zero, no matter what. Whereas most paper assets and the like, they can go to zero. As to Bitcoin, well, it's been doing pretty well. We're seeing it being used at some of the online dealers, accepted as payment. Other nations are opening their doors to it. But it is purely speculative. And that means that no matter what, it's just based off of the faith of the user. Currency that's backed by government is known as a fiat, by edict of the central bank and the governments representing nations. The euro is a fiat currency. The US dollar is a fiat currency. Bitcoin is a currency. It's a speculative currency, and it's digital. And in my view, I think that reason why some of these nations are opening up to it is because they realize that it is something that though, it seems to be a more of an anonymous way to make purchases. I'm not sure that's the case, but I think it makes it basically sensitizes or desensitizes the people using the currency to go and use a digital currency, whether it be dollars or what have you. And so Bitcoin is a part of that, and it's a means to an end. And I think that no matter what kind of digital transactions take place, you are always at the mercy of the holder or the vehicle from which those transactions take place. Whereas with gold and silver, you are at the mercy of no one. You are in complete control having gold and silver. And the blockchain, they say it's very secure, but in my opinion, anything that's on a network of any sort is prone to hacking. And there's issues. I believe there was some issues in a relatively recent history after this infographic, actually, where there was some problems, and Bitcoin lost a lot because a lot of faith because of how it was hacked, or there was a fear that it may have been hacked, and it could be hacked. And this 21 billion, I think that that's, to me, that's arbitrary. That's it's coming up pretty close, or it's going to get there relatively soon. And I think they'll either create more or make it so impossible to make others, and they'll divide them up or what have you. It's hard to tell. But the thing is Bitcoin is purely speculative. If every nation in the world accepted it or allowed it to be used for transactions, and not only that, but it's not as anonymous as people think. I think that generally anything digital, not only can it be hacked, it can be tracked. And governments could, and they probably already are tracking it, especially for any transactions using Bitcoin in the dark web. The other problem with Bitcoin is what I call the MySpace factor. And the MySpace factor is something of my own creation here and terminology. But you remember the days of MySpace? We all got on MySpace, and MySpace was the social network place. And look what happened to it. Facebook came along and took over. And we always thought MySpace was too big to fail. It'd always be around. And Facebook was created essentially for college students and networking between college students. And now it's all over the place. And now everybody thinks it's too big to fail. And so the same thing could happen with Bitcoin. You have Litecoin, you have all these other kinds of cryptocurrencies that are out there. There's more and more coming along every day, and one of these others could take over, which could be in competition with Bitcoin. So just something to think about here. For those of you who are dabbling in it, I feel free to experiment and the like. As for me, I think I want to stay away from it. Gold and silver. To me, it doesn't matter if Bitcoin gets up to $2,500 a coin and gold goes down to $1,000 an ounce. I'm much rather have gold than Bitcoin. So post your thoughts below. Like to extend a multitude of gratitude, y'all, for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.